Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the best anime where characters are transported or reborn into a fantasy world.
もし余っていたらそんなに
Number 30, Skeleton Knight in Another World.
なんじゃこりゃ
Getting transported to a fantasy world as your game avatar sounds cool, and Ark is super stoked about it, even if his avatar was a skeleton. Despite his best efforts to keep a low profile so as not to reveal his bony face, Ark keeps getting involved in bigger events, particularly after acquiring companions.
その姿は一体
Taking on corrupt nobles, dismantling the slave trade, and impressing everyone with his incredible power, Ark can't help but become a legend in short order. Skeleton Knight in Another World isn't super deep, but it's still a fun series, and Ark's enthusiasm for fantasy elements is infectious.
では行くぞディメンションムーブ
Number 29, So I'm a Spider, So What? It says a lot when a series manages to overcome glaring CGI and an admittedly rough start, only to go on to become a fun ride eager to demonstrate that Darwinism has got nothing on the spirit of a high school girl.
なんか本当に異世界転生っぽくなってきたじゃない
Transformed into a talking, oddly cute arachnid, Kumoko is forced to pit her dangerously low-leveled webbing against a world filled with infinitely larger and more dangerous foes, a la Dark Souls. Maybe this would be a bust if not for Kumoko's unbreakable spirit and slow growth into a magical apex predator. Girl knows how to take death like a champ.
まだだ最後まで最後の瞬間まで諦めてやるもんか
Number 28. The world's finest assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat.
それダメです勇者が魔王を殺すまで待ってください
A goddess revives someone as a hero in her world to save it from a demon lord. This is not that story. This is about the guy the goddess hired to kill the hero once he's done the saving to make sure he doesn't go mad with power. The eponymous assassin is reborn as Lug, whose new family specialize in assassination with a cover of being physicians. Although many of the expected isekai tropes are here, there's some unexpected emotional depth to be found. Watching Lug, a previously heartless killer, rediscover his humanity in his new life is honestly quite touching.
一緒に新魔法を作ろう
But most of the time he's just manipulating. Plus, his introduction of modern weaponry leads to some great fight scenes. Number 27. Problem children are coming from another world, aren't they? Having immense psychic powers certainly takes the edge off when you're suddenly thrown into an alternate world and forced to participate in various battles to preserve your newly fashioned community.
まなかなかだったぜお前
An underrated romp of a series, if you're one for watching adolescents beating the tar out of gods and cocky tyrants alike, then you're in for a good time.
行くぜ
Between the gift games, Izayoi's absurd strength, and everything Black Rabbit does, this one is in dire need of more recognition.
そっちから来ねえならこっちから行くぜ
Number 26. Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash.
ゴブリンって俺たちよか強くね
Not everyone who gets sent to another world gets powerful abilities or is even suited for the monster fighting life. This anime is about the other guys, the leftover people who aren't really cut out for the adventuring life, yet are forced to do it anyway. There's no power fantasy to be had here.
ゴブチ結構タフガイなんやなマリ君マリ君
The stakes for even minor battles are life and death, and there are definitely deaths. Along with its grounded, realistic take on the genre, Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash also delivers a beautiful pastel art style, making it as beautiful as it is heartbreaking.
マナト平気
Number 25, The Vision of Eslon.
地球どうして地球が見えるの
An old school classic before the modern boom of Isekai, The Vision of Eslon is a cult favorite. The series follows Hitomi, an ordinary high school girl who finds herself transported to Gaia, a fantasy world where a tyrannical empire is on the cusp of conquering everything.
これがエスカフローネ
何をしてるさっさと隠れろ
Hitomi's visions of the future, along with the titular fantasy mecha Eslon, are the key to saving Gaia. The Vision of Eslon features an excellent story, a great cast, and beautiful animation that still holds up today. While real ones will remember watching the Fox Kids dub back in the day, we recommend new viewers check it out. Number 24, Knights and Magic.
どうした
僕は今ロボットに乗っています
ロボットなんだそれは
男のロマンです
It may have Knight in the title and a questionable apostrophe, but Knights and Magic has considerably bigger armored suits than you might think. With all the mecha anime fans in Japan, it was only a matter of time before one of them got reincarnated into a world where magical mechas are real. The reborn Ernesti attends a magic school that teaches mecha pilots, though his dream is to build and pilot one of his own designs.
僕は今ロボットに乗っている
The series boasts impressive visuals and a refreshing take on the isekai genre. Eru just loves mechas, and so does the show, so if you do too, Knights and Magic may be for you. Number 23, Log Horizon. Another day, another anime about a guild of players trapped inside a video game. It may be a familiar premise, but trust us when we say this one perfects the basics to the point where even the traditional storyline is given new life. With a delightful cast, including Master Enchanter Shiro at the helm, this series gives you everything you could possibly want from a classic fantasy tale, if the protagonists just happen to be veteran MMORPG players.
あの光る茨は味方の攻撃に反応して対象に1000のダメージを与える。
As such, expect to see plenty of upper tier spells lighting up the screen. Number 22, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. While maybe not as successful as some of the other gamer becomes game character isekais out there, Diablo takes the fantastical fun of the well-worn premise and throws in plenty of OP madness. And Shira! Seriously, Shira makes up two of the reasons why you'll have a blast with this anime.
私はシェラエル・グリーンウッドいろいろあって冒険者になろうと思ってるんだ
The dichotomy between Diablo's unbeatable Demon Lord persona and the anxiety-ridden nerd within certainly elevates him from every other brand of dime store power fantasy protagonist out there.
我が名はディアブロ異世界の魔王だ
Especially when he's defending his elf from low-life paladins. Number 21, My Next Life as a Villainess. All routes lead to doom. Most would jump at the chance to be dropped into their favorite video game. Unfortunately, this little lady just happens to end up as the one character destined to die.
私は17歳で死んでしまった
In order to prevent her canonical demise, Katarina decides to go off script and become the most lovable noble around.
何それ禁断の恋ってこ ことは人妻か、もしくは男性？
Turns out that having an in-depth knowledge of a game, as well as being a beacon of good, will make you something of a romantic black hole, on account that it doesn't take long for everyone and their mother to start to fall in love with Katarina's new persona. Number 20. Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun.
悪魔の学校に通わせてあげよう。
悪魔の学校？
After Iruma's awful parents sell him to a demon named Sullivan, his new adoptive grandpa brings him to the demon realm and enrolls him at the demon school he runs. Despite Iruma's attempts to stay anonymous so no one discovers he's human, he often finds himself the center of attention. The series has a cast as brightly colorful as its art style. Welcome to Demon School isn't your typical isekai, but its charming tone and light-hearted humor help make it a devilishly fun show, and one that other shows could take lessons from. Number 19. Ascendants of a Bookworm. Not all isekai have to be hardcore fantasies filled with super chads and harems galore. Sometimes they can be a tranquil exploration into the wonders of reading.
私、本当にここで生きていくの？
Awakening in the body of a 5-year-old girl, in a world devoid of literature to all except the elites, Mine endeavors to put all her otherworldly knowledge to good use in order to print her own books. If you can't get it, make it.
あれが本？マインが作ってたのと全然違うじゃん。
Definitely one of the more relaxing entries in the genre, watching the eager book lover go to such lengths just to get something to read is a joy to behold, especially if you're tired of the same old formula.
チェインドライブラリーも図書室だ。
Number 18. Arifureta, from commonplace to world's strongest. There's Edgelord, and then there's Hajime. Taking every grimdark trope imaginable and piling it into a one-eyed gunslinger with a vengeful loner complex, this once average high schooler became the very epitome of teen angst after one of his fellow isekais yeeted him into the bottom of an abyss and left him for dead. And you know what? It won us over. The unabashed pride it has in having Hajime use his magical guns to wipe out CGI monsters while slowly amassing a monster girl harem is so in your face that it's sort of impossible not to have fun with it. Number 17. Drifters. From the beautifully batshit insane mind that brought us Hellsing, this unorthodox gorefest sees prominent historical figures brought together by an omnipotent being in order to fight against some of time's deadliest villains. One moment you'll see famed swordsman Toyohisa Shimazu slicing through guards to protect a group of elves, and the next you'll have Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid gunning down orcs while escaping from a burning city. Oh, and their main foe is someone who could potentially be Jesus Christ. You have to experience this incredible insanity for yourself.
人を救おうとした。だが拒絶された。ならば人ならざる者を救い、人を滅ぼすしかない。
Number 16. The 12 Kingdoms. An oft-forgotten isekai, The 12 Kingdoms follows Yoko, an ordinary high schooler brought to another world along with a few of her classmates. There she finds her appearance changed, and she's soon told that she's the queen of one of the titular kingdoms. Yoko's struggles and character growth are given plenty of detail, and the world itself is fleshed out incredibly well.
こいつら中島さんお願い
Its consistent level of quality and depth is probably because the anime is based on a series of fantasy novels, like novels, not light novels. The 12 Kingdoms also boasts some impressive animation that hasn't aged a day. Number 15, Sukimi, Moonlit Fantasy. Makoto is sent to another world, but instead of a benevolent goddess, this one thinks a 5 like him is too ugly for her world full of 10s, and sends him to live with the demi-humans. However, despite his inability to speak to other humans, Makoto quickly becomes overpowered and sets up a community of monster people that adore him. While Sukimi does have plenty of familiar isekai plot points, sexy monster girls, city building, magic schools, etc., it executes these familiar elements extremely well.
正直、僕の外見は良くない。勉強は好きだけど秀才でもない。
And although it's largely comedic, it isn't afraid to go dark or turn up the action. Whether you're over the moon about it or not, Sukimi is a solid isekai.
散々好きなようにもてあそんでくれやがりました俺だ
Number 14, Cautious Hero. The hero is overpowered, but overly cautious. Now this is how you shake things up. Called upon by a goddess to save a fantasy world from oblivion, Seiya certainly has the stats and means to dispense any monster in his path. Just one problem. The boy refuses to do anything until he's properly prepared, no matter how long it takes. The gags here hit harder than Seiya backhanding the loudmouth Knight Commander. While he certainly lives up to his reputation of being able to crush anything, it's his interactions with his increasingly frazzled partner that really sells this. That and her inability to hold back her thirst.
Oh, six-pack.
Number 13, the Saga of Tanya the Evil. A Japanese salaryman gets reincarnated as a 9-year-old girl and forced to fight in a magical war on behalf of pseudo-Germany because they pissed off God. Welcome to Tanya's world. The crazy premise doesn't even begin to quantify just how ridiculous this series is, thankfully for all the right reasons. With a trigger finger that can drop enemy soldiers like flies and the scariest smile ever put to animation, Tanya's new life as a squadron commander is a bombastic ride from beginning to end. We honestly can't wait to see where the war takes her next. Number 12, No Game, No Life. Unable to be apart for a single moment without breaking down, spending every hour of every day owning people at video games, siblings Sora and Shiro really didn't have that many career prospects going their way. That is, until they find themselves transported into a fantasy world where gaming literally decides everything. With their unparalleled skills, the two soon find themselves leading the remnants of humanity to reclaiming its former glory as its new monarchs. Guess NEETs really do have it in them to change the world.
我がエルキアは全世界の国に対して宣戦布告する
Number 11, Digimon Adventure. Each iteration of this beloved franchise gives us a new band of Digidestined, along with their digital partners, but to our mind, there's no beating the original group of kids who first stepped foot on the shores of the digital world.
I'm your friend, I'm your friend! Just what are you? Have you had your rabies shots?
With the power of friendship and some badass Digivolutions, Tai and company have to battle against the forces of darkness in order to protect both their homes from facing deletion.
I'll stop you!
The action scenes are awesome, the dynamic between the kids is engrossing, and there's a surprising amount of heart at its core.
We did it, Ty! We did it! Yay!
Wasn't that cool, man? Great job, Tsunoma.
Number 10. Gate. Have you ever wondered what would happen if a modern military took on the might of an empire made of dragons, elves, and magic? Well, wonder no longer. After the titular gate opens and invaders attack Tokyo, Japan sends in its task force in order to retaliate and occupy the foreign territory. If you like your characters smart, precise, and open to employing a little thing called strategy, then this one's for you. Don't get us wrong, you'll still get to see a dragon taken out by a rocket launcher, but the sensibleness that comes from the soldiers is still a breath of fresh air. Number 9. Uncle from Another World. Plenty of isekai stories show the hero journeying in another world. Very few show what happens when they come home. Uncle from Another World follows Yosuke, the titular uncle who was in a coma while in the other world. It's a hilarious series that derives comedy not only from Yosuke's struggles adapting to the modern world, but also his nephew's reactions to viewing his uncle's memories from his time spent isekai'd. The poor guy was oblivious to all the tropes we take for granted. We'd say we love this one as much as Yosuke loves Sega, but nobody loves anything that much. Number 8. Sword Art Online. Yes, everyone has their opinion about this anime. What can't be denied, however, is that its polarizing status has also made it one of the most popular isekai series out there. After finding themselves trapped inside a virtual reality video game, future lovebirds Kirito and Asuna must band together to dungeon crawl their way to freedom, all the while taking down other players, monsters, and each other between the sheets.
私も絶対に君を守る。
Reveling in the OP-ness of its characters and some admittedly sweet fight scenes, you do well to check out this series for yourself before deciding whether its infamy is warranted or not. Number 7. The Rising of the Shield Hero. It's an ugly world filled with backstabbers, betrayals, and every other kind of unpleasantries, but somebody's gotta save it. Framed for assaulting a princess, yet still forced to fulfill his duty as the shield hero, Naofumi is tossed to the wolves, paving the way for one hell of a character arc. From his initial bitterness to everyone he meets, to learning to trust again, thanks to the companionship of best girl Raftalia.
Naofumi-sama!
Naofumi truly comes into his own, finding both redemption and duty through his deeds, and in doing so raised the bar for isekai everywhere.
それが姿勢勇者の盾の勇者の使命だから。
Number 6. Overlord. Make no mistake, this isn't exactly the story of a hero. This is the rise of one of the most powerful villains in all of creation.
何か問題がございましたか?
After finding himself trapped inside his in-game avatar, player turned unbeatable undead, Ainz Ulgon decides to employ his overwhelming power in the best way possible. Rule over everything and anything. Watching him employ his unbeatable power and a host of dynamic monster guardians, Ainz's conquest is beyond the pale of entertaining. He may be far from hateable, but the ruler of Nazarick would rather see humanity bend the knee to his will than protect the innocent, or so he likes to let on. Number 5. The Eminence in Shadow.
俺はただのスタイリッシュ傍観スレイヤーだ。
スタイリッシュ傍観スレイヤー
What happens when you isekai the biggest edgelord in the world? Greatness, that's what. Sid Kageno takes being dark and mysterious to new levels, unintentionally creating a massive shadowy organization to combat the world's evils, all just to look as cool as possible. The comedic nature of Sid's slavish devotion to being an overpowered mastermind is matched only by his dedication to maintaining his secret identity. The disconnect between Sid's perceptions and reality creates comedy and drama in equal measure, and despite his incredibly oblivious attitude, seeing Sid back up his cosplaying with actual power is honestly ridiculously awesome. Number 4. KonoSuba. God's blessing on this wonderful world. The world is vibrant, the lore is entrancing, it looks like it would be an adventurous paradise. At least it would, just so long as you don't end up joining this particular party.
せっかくのファンタジー世界なのにジャージ一丁ですわ。ここは必要最低限の装備とか。
After suffering a less than dignified death, resident lovable douche Kazuma finds himself being transported to an RPG world where he soon finds himself embroiled with 3 ladies who are more hindering than helpful. A goddess who is utterly useless, a knight with an extreme masochistic edge, a mage who only knows how to make things blow up. Needless to say, this is the antithesis of your average fantasy anime, and it's bloody hilarious. Number 3, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. There's world building, and then there's Rimuru slowly accumulating a country filled with monsters.
テンペストは以前に比べてとてつもなく豊かになったが、まだまだ国としては経験不足だ。
There's fancy fights, and then there's the Tempest elite rolling in and wiping out everything in sight. In short, this slime knows how to get stuff done. Even if the transition between arcs can be a little slow at times, the progression of this former manager turned sentient blob turned leader of a nation has become one of the definitive titles that proves there's still plenty of creativity and polish to be found in the Isekai cesspool, especially when it slaps hard.
神の怒りに焼き貫かれてメギド
Number 2, ReZero starting life in another world. Death may not be the end of everything, but that doesn't make it any less unpleasant. Stranded in a world with danger literally around every turn, our unfortunate hero Subaru finds himself intrinsically intertwined with the fate of the land and its inhabitants.
つまりこれはひょっとして異世界召喚ってやつ
Just one little problem. Every time he dies, he is brought back in time right to the moment where he first arrived. Spoilers, he dies a lot. While the medley of gruesome deaths aren't exactly pleasant to witness, seeing Subaru overcome his suffering in order to save his new friends still makes for one hell of a watch. Plus, this show has Rem. What more do you need?
スバル君の匂いを嗅ぐのはレムの特権です
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. This one's a bit of an anomaly, since it's both the oldest and newest isekai on the block, with the source material pioneering many of the tropes that every other titan in its genre has popularized. Rudius's transition from scum of the earth to being reborn into a world full of magic is a true trendsetter, with his anime debut blowing its lesser counterparts out the water. From Rudy's inner conflict about his past life, the gorgeous animation, top-tier fight scenes, and abundance of leading ladies, there's just too much here to love. Oh, and Ghislaine. Whew, oh boy. Is there an otherworldly isekai anime we forgot? Hit us like Truck-kun with your favorites in the comments below.